Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're traveling to Japan, an archipelago isolated geographically from the rest of Asia, surrounded by the Sea of Japan and the Pacific Ocean. Every year, millions of travelers visit this beautiful country, drawn by its vibrant cities, rich cultural heritage, breathtaking landscapes, and timeless traditions. Yet beyond its neon skylines and historic temples lies a world shaped by ancient legends, supernatural folklore, and mysteries that have endured for centuries. Today we're going to take in plain sight those mysteries and legends from the country of the rising sun. One of Japan's most enduring modern urban legends centers around Inunaki Village, a fictional micronation supposedly located in a dense forest in Fukuoka Prefecture, near the Inunaki Mountain Pass and the western edge of Wakamiya. According to local folklore, this isolated settlement rejected the Constitution of Japan and the authority of the government. Stories claim that near the overgrown entrance to the village stands a handwritten sign warning, "The Japanese Constitution is not in effect past here." Among the most widely circulated tales is one set in the early 1970s, where a young couple traveling by car toward Hisayama suffered an engine breakdown. Seeking help in the woods, they entered the seemingly abandoned village, where they were attacked and murdered with a sickle by an elderly resident. Another common variation involves a lone red telephone booth near the Inunaki Bridge that supposedly rings every night at midnight. Answering the call places a supernatural curse on the traveler, stripping them of control over their mind and body before transporting them to the village to die. Despite these unsettling rumors, historical records from the Edo period confirm that a real settlement, officially called Inunaki Village, did exist in the area, though it bore no resemblance to the lawless community of the legend. Established in 1691 by the Fukuoka domain under the leadership of village headman Bunai Shinozaki, it was a traditional agricultural and industrial village that exported ceramics, steel, and later operated a coal mine. In 1865, a small fortification known as the Inunaki Gobeken Castle was even built in the valley under the recommendation of Kato Shisho. Following Japan's administrative reforms in April 1889, Inunaki was integrated into the nearby Yoshikawa village, eventually becoming part of present-day Miyawaka City. The physical remains of the original village ceased to exist between 1986 and 1994, when the construction of the Inunaki Dam submerged the entire valley beneath a reservoir, forcing the remaining residents to relocate to the nearby district of Wakita. The sinister reputation associated with the area stems not from an ancient curse, but from a tragic and violent real-world crime committed at the nearby Old Inunaki Tunnel, originally completed in 1949. The tunnel was abandoned after a new, safer pass was constructed nearby in 1975. Left unmaintained and unlit, the decaying structure became a frequent gathering spot for gangs and illegal street racers. On December 6, 1988, 5 young men abducted a 20-year-old factory worker in an attempt to steal his car. After torturing him, they dragged him deep into the pitch-black interior of the old tunnel and burned him to death with gasoline. The perpetrators were subsequently arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment, and local authorities permanently sealed the entrances to the old tunnel with heavy concrete blocks. Adding to the location's grim history, another body was discovered in the nearby dam reservoir in 2000, with no clue as to the circumstances of the incident. The convergence of this real-world tragedy and the submerged historical village eventually gave birth to the modern internet legend. The earliest online mentions of the myth date back to 1999, when Japanese broadcaster Nippon TV received an anonymous letter titled "The Village in Japan That Isn't Part of Japan." The letter described the legend of the murdered couple and urged a television crew to investigate the area. As the story spread across Japanese web forums, it evolved into a massive cultural phenomenon. Over the years, the myth has inspired numerous pieces of popular media, including Junji Ito's manga, The Story of the Mysterious Tunnel, the 2016 anime series The Lost Village, and an indie horror video game released on Steam in 2019. That same year, director Takashi Shimizu released the horror film Howling Village, which significantly increased the legend's popularity, though it also unfortunately led to a surge of trespassing and vandalism at the sealed tunnel site. Today, the location stands as a striking example of how historical facts, real-world crime, and digital folklore can merge into a modern myth. While Inunaki exists largely in folklore, Japan contains real modern ghost settlements shaped by the aftermath of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. On March 11, 2011, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake off the northeastern coast triggered a massive tsunami exceeding 14 meters, which overtopped the plant's protective sea walls. The resulting flood submerged lower basements and destroyed emergency diesel generators, causing a complete station blackout. Without electrical power to circulate cooling water, residual decay heat caused the reactor cores in units 1, 2, and 3 to melt. At high temperatures, the fuel cladding reacted with steam to produce massive volumes of hydrogen gas, which ultimately caused chemical hydrogen explosions in the upper reactor buildings, damaging structures and releasing radioactive material into the atmosphere. Though classified alongside Chernobyl as a Level 7 event on the INES scale, the Fukushima disaster differed significantly in its mechanisms and scale. Unlike Chernobyl, which was caused by human error and design flaws during a safety test, resulting in a prompt power surge, a steam explosion, and an uncontained graphite fire, Fukushima was triggered by a natural disaster, and its reactors were protected by robust concrete containment vessels. Consequently, total radiation release was estimated at only 10% to 15% of Chernobyl's levels, and there were no immediate direct deaths from acute radiation sickness. Rather than instantaneous apocalyptic preservation, the evacuated areas underwent natural wear over time, with roofs degrading under rain and snow, moss covering asphalt roads, and wild animals expanding into empty residential streets. Following the emergency evacuations, a 20-kilometer perimeter, along with northwest mountain corridors, was placed under government restriction, encompassing municipalities like Futaba, Okuma, Nami, Tomioka, and Aitate. The zone was divided into regulatory tiers based on annual radiation measurements, with the most severely affected areas designated as difficult-to-return zones. Guarded by checkpoints and barricades, entry was restricted to former residents on brief scheduled visits under strict safety protocols. In subsequent years, extensive decontamination programs involving the removal of topsoil, clearing of vegetation, and washing of infrastructure allowed the government to gradually lift evacuation orders in central corridors and begin rebuilding efforts. Today, the state of these municipalities reflects a complex, ongoing recovery marked by modern infrastructure hubs, contrasting with quiet outskirts. Futaba, which was the last municipality to have evacuation orders partially lifted in August 2022, built a new municipal office, an industrial park, and a disaster memorial museum near Futaba Station, though its returning population remains low. Okuma established a new town center inland in the Aokigahara district, focusing on high-tech agricultural greenhouses and housing personnel involved in the decades-long plant decommissioning. Nami reopened its central corridor as a clean energy hub, featuring the Fukushima Hydrogen Energy Research Field, while its western mountains remain restricted. Meanwhile, Tomioka restored public services and traditional cultural events along its famous Yonomori Cherry Blossom Avenue, sharing the broader demographic pattern of a slow return rate among original families, balanced by incoming contractors and municipal staff. Also known as Jukai, the Sea of Trees, Aokigahara Forest stretches across approximately 30 square kilometers on the northwestern flank of Mount Fuji, thriving on a bed of lava hardened during the major eruption of 864 CE. The porous volcanic floor possesses a remarkable acoustic property, absorbing ambient noise and creating a profound, almost surreal silence that dominates the area. This sense of dense isolation is heightened by a rich canopy of conifers and broad-leaved trees, whose contorted roots embrace the jagged lava rocks. Despite its heavy reputation, the forest sustains a vibrant mountain ecosystem, featuring spectacular lava formations, such as the Narusawa Ice Cave, which remains frozen year-round, and diverse wildlife ranging from Honshu sika deer, Asiatic black bears, and red foxes to a wide array of birds and insects. The forest's supernatural aura stems from a delicate interplay between ancient folklore, disorienting geography, and natural phenomena often misconstrued through a paranormal lens. In Japanese mythology, Aokigahara has long been associated with yurei, meaning restless, lingering spirits of the dead who, according to local legend, remain tethered to the woods. This haunting reputation is historically intertwined with tales of ubasute, an alleged feudal era practice where the elderly or infirm were left in remote regions during times of severe famine, leaving their spirits behind. These eerie legends are further amplified by the forest's unsettling physical environment. The dense, interwoven canopy blocks out much of the sunlight, while the moss-covered cavernous terrain offers virtually no distinct natural landmarks, rendering the landscape disorientingly uniform. Visitors often report a strange, heavy atmosphere, a sensation reinforced by the legend that magnetic compasses go haywire within the woods. In reality, this magnetic interference is a purely geological phenomenon caused by high concentrations of magnetic iron ore in the underlying basaltic lava, which causes compass needles to deflect when placed directly against the rock, though they function as expected when held at normal chest height. When this subtle magnetic anomaly is paired with the acoustic dampening of the porous lava rock and the visual repetition of the trees, the resulting sensory isolation makes it easy to understand why centuries of folklore have framed Aokigahara as a realm where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels unusually thin. Beyond folklore and striking geography, Aokigahara carries a tragic real-world weight, having become frequently associated with suicide since the mid-20th century. Far from being a backdrop for sensationalism, this reality is approached by local authorities and the community with deep compassion and solemnity. At the entrances to major trails, signs offer messages of support, urging those in emotional distress to consider their loved ones and reach out to suicide prevention helplines. Through regular patrols by police and volunteers, as well as efforts to refrain from publicizing official statistics, modern initiatives focus on prevention, honoring the memory of victims, and restoring the true identity of Aokigahara, that of a unique, austere, and quiet natural sanctuary. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. See you next time, uncovering more myths and legends.